Uh, Thanks for joining me today. Like to start off by sharing that I stutter when I talk. So sometimes it'll take me a little longer to get some of my words out. Um, I, 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 I first started stuttering when I was 8, and then went through speech therapy for years, off and on, until my early 20s. And then in my late 20s, I was encouraged to go to graduate school to become a speech therapist myself. So that's actually what I do for work now. Um, and so, if anyone has questions about stuttering, then please ask them. I'm going to switch up my format a little bit, because next week I'll be starting an interview series, because I've got a lot of friends that stutter, and and we all stutter differently, and we all have different experiences because of our stutter. So today I'm going to answer some of the questions that I'll be asking them, but for myself. So I'll do that, and then if there are any super chats after that, then I'll respond then, and I may answer some questions from the chat as well. So, one of my questions that I've got for those upcoming interviews is what was school like as a stutterer? And so I first started stuttering in the third grade, and I I I I I, I would get made fun of sometimes for it. Not a whole lot, but definitely enough to discourage me from wanting to speak up in class. And so pretty early on, I stopped talking as much, because I didn't want people knowing that I stuttered, and that I was a bit different than them. Um, and so that led to me not raising my hand in class to answer questions, and I wouldn't ask questions in class either when I was confused, because I was too embarrassed. So kids who stutter may appear to be struggling in class because they're just quiet. There were lots of times I was called on to share, and I would just say that that I didn't know the answer, even when I did. Um, and then school presentations were very tough. I I only did a handful of them in school because I was always self-conscious. Now, most of my teachers were pretty cool to me, where they would let me do the presentation to just them during lunch. And looking back on it, that was great at the time, because I was terrified of talking. But now I feel like I I should have pushed myself differently than what I did do. Um, but yeah, then I also had some teachers that kind of forced me to do presentations, and I still wouldn't, and I would take a zero on that grade because I refused to talk out loud in front of my class. So school was tough, but I played sports, which is I I I think how most of my peers knew that I like had something going on, because I was competent at sports. So even though I wouldn't talk in class, I could still play sports. Okay. Um, were you ever in speech therapy? If yes, how was your experience? I've been in loads of different speech therapies over the years, and they have kind of changed since I was a, a, a kid, because the focus used to be on 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 not stuttering, so getting your words out as smoothly as possible. And that is tough because no strategy for stuttering is guaranteed to make you not stutter. At some point, you will stutter again. And so when the aim of speech therapy is to not stutter, well, you kind of stop talking because the only way to make sure that you don't stutter is by not saying anything in the first place. Now, that type of therapy has changed over the years to where some speech therapists now target how stuttering impacts you on a daily basis and on an emotional level too. So that, in my opinion, really helps out because clearly stuttering it, 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 it can take over your entire life. So we all have these insecurities around it that we should address. So what I do as a speech therapist now is target both the fluency side, where we teach strategies to better manage stuttering. So it'll be reduced, and also target the impact that stuttering has on our lives. Now, some different things that have happened with speech therapy that have kind of changed is I would be given exercises to strengthen my tongue muscles, because people thought that you stuttered because your tongue was weak. That's not true. So that was one thing that I did as a kid with the speech therapist, who was great, but the research behind stuttering was just so limited. All right. Has your stutter changed over the years, or is it still pretty similar to when you first started stuttering? Mine has definitely changed. My first couple years of stuttering were not nearly as intense as it currently is. So the frequency that I stuttered was much less, and the duration that I got stuck on my words was less too. And in probably late middle school, when I became a teenager, is when my stutter started getting more severe, to the point where I could get stuck on a single word for 2 minutes at a time. And this past year, since I've really worked on trying to talk in public more openly by letting my stuttering out, I think that my stutter has reduced in severity. I used to have much harder blocks, and lately I haven't been, apart from the past like 3 days, which is just kind of neat about stuttering is it works in cycles. So sometimes you'll have days where you don't stutter as much. Sometimes you'll have days when you'll stutter more. And currently, I'm stuttering more. So yeah. What is one thing that bugs you about stuttering? Probably what I just mentioned, the inconsistency of it, how it's constantly changing, how much I get stuck on a word, because there could be times when I say a word and get stuck on it for 30 seconds, and then the very next time that I say that word, I may not get stuck at all. And that makes it impossible to plan for. You never know how long you'll get stuck on a word, until you're stuck on it. And that makes it difficult when you meet other people, because sometimes people think if you're not stuttering as much, that your stutter is getting better, and this is what they can expect for the rest of your life. And that's not true. Just because we're not stuttering much one day does not mean that will stay. There's no cure for stuttering, so we can't just magically get better. What is one positive aspect of stuttering. For me, I have been taught patience at a level that I suspect I would have never known had I not stuttered. I am forced to be patient, whether I like it or not. And sometimes I don't like it. Um, but 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 fortunately, I am very patient with other people because I've learned it from being patient with myself. Um, and then one more thing that I like about stuttering, um, well, that I like about it, that's been that's been positive about stuttering, is it forces me to be vulnerable, and I think more people could benefit from that. We often set up a lot of boundaries and guards when we first meet people. And if you stutter, you can't hide it for the most part. You are kind of forced to just let your stutter out there, and then people uh, will just like they kind of see, oh, he's being vulnerable. I guess that means I can drop my guard down and be vulnerable too. Um, what's one thing you wish more people knew about stuttering? I wish more people knew that there's no cure, and speech therapy doesn't necessarily mean that you can speak fine. Um, yes, there are strategies to better manage your stuttering, but you will still stutter at some point. And most people just don't really get that. They think that you're just not trying hard enough. I got a super chat, so I'll respond to that now. This is from Pi. Travis, if I may, do you snore or sleep talk or sleep walk? I rarely snore now. There is a book called Breath by James Nestor that kind of changed my life. And it's about nose breathing rather than mouth breathing. And part of why so many people snore and also have so many cavities and wonky teeth and need braces is because they, they breathe with their mouth open so much, and um, and when you sleep with your mouth open, then you are far more likely to snore. So I I've kind of trained myself to not do that, as odd as that is. I don't sleep walk. uh, I think I have sleep talked before, but it's not a reoccurring thing. Um, how do you prefer people handle your stutter when you talk with them? I love when people are patient with me. If they if their energy is calm, then that just puts me at ease. If they say something like, "No worries, to take your time," I love that. um, when people are not calm and they give me like a time pressure and I feel rushed, I will stutter more. When people guess my words for me, that doesn't feel good because it happens constantly. I I get discouraged from wanting to talk if the other person keeps guessing my words. If you were talking with a friend and every few seconds they jumped in to guess your words too, you probably wouldn't really like it. So same for me. Um, and then I know that eye contact is tough for most people, but I really like it when the other person can maintain reasonable eye contact with me. When I'm chatting with someone, and then as soon as I stutter, they look away. That doesn't feel good. That makes me feel like my stutter is doing something wrong, and it's making them uncomfortable. And I know most people are probably just looking away because they think that it's what the stutterer wants, but it doesn't feel good. I've got another super chat from Pi. How loud was your snoring before you got rid of it? Ooh, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry. Um, I'll guess and say a normal level of loudness, but I could be wrong. Um, How has stuttering impacted your everyday life and mental health over the years? Has it ever held you back? Yeah. Throughout most of my life, um, my stutter has held me back. Um, I have, or I had struggled with making friends growing up, and building connections and starting relationships and finding jobs because of my stutter. I I just always felt different, and 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 I always felt less than, and I felt like a burden because I know that I take up more time than most people, and some people don't have the patience for that. Um, so that was tough for quite a while. I used to pursue jobs based off of the amount of talking I would need to do. And so I would do jobs that I hated, but it meant that I wouldn't have to talk, and therefore I wouldn't have to embarrass myself by stuttering. Um, and truth be told, some days I still feel that way. Yeah. Um, what's the weirdest reaction you've gotten from a stranger when you started stuttering? Um, well, quite often when you introduce yourself to someone new, and you stutter on your name. um, it's very common that someone will say, "Wait, did you really just forget your own name?" No, I just stutter. Sometimes people laugh and stutter back at me because they think I'm pranking them. Um, some people have thought that I'm having a stroke when I stutter, and but the weirdest one, I was in a gym in the locker room, and I worked up the courage to to talk to someone there, and someone nearby jumped in once I started stuttering, and he asked if I was talking in Morse code. No. uh, yeah, I'm not sure if we can top that one, but Yeah, he thought I was talking in Morse code, and he was serious. But yeah, um, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your current uh, level of acceptance with stuttering, and how has that changed over the years? Um, I I used to despise stuttering. I hated that it was part of my life. I I never wanted to talk because of it. So I used to not accept it at all. Um, I was on the complete opposite end of acceptance. And then over the past probably year and a half, it's been building. So I've reached a point where I accept that it's part of my life, that I have to deal with it. I still hate it. I wish I didn't stutter, but I do. Um, so my acceptance level varies between like a low 3.5 to a higher probably 8, um, but definitely still a work in progress for me. Uh, if there was a magic pill to stop stuttering, would you take it? Why or why not? I totally would. I, I, I am pretty over it. Um, it's it's just so discouraging to have so many things that I want to share and express, but I just get stuck doing it, and I feel like I take up too much time, and 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 there's there's so many people that are super kind about stuttering, but regardless of how kind they are, there's still that very first moment, for a split second, when they first see and hear that you stutter, when their face makes a reflexive reaction, and like they typically go white, and they're like kind of shocked, confused. Some people laugh, and man, I just hate that very first time for that split second. So yeah, I would definitely take a magic pill to stop stuttering. Um, and last question that I have on this list, and then I'll I'll respond to any more super chats, and then some questions from the chat as well. What is your advice to young stutterers? My advice is keep talking and to try to say what you want to say when you want to say it, regardless of if you stutter or not. At some point, you will stutter again. So rather than fight it and try to hide it, and by doing so, give stuttering all of this power over you, we can just say, hey, I'll stutter at some point. That's okay. So I'll just worry about saying what I want to say when I want to say it. So that's what I'll say there. Okay. So those were most of the interview questions that I will start asking the future stutterers that I invite on this live stream. I believe I will have someone new here for Tuesday to interview. So if you all have some questions for them that you're curious about with their stuttering, then let me know. Also, if you stutter and would like to join me in a live stream interview, then you can message me on Instagram at travis.stuttering, and then we can set that up. So I will scroll through the chat to find some more questions, and we'll see how it goes. And I'd like to thank my mod E squared for helping with this too. All right, let's see for questions. Have you tried the tapping technique? I know someone it really works for. Actually, yeah. When I was first stuttering as a kid, I was taught to keep my finger at the side of my leg and then tap out each word that I want to say. And it works sometimes for a period of time, and then your brain gets used to that behavior, and then it stops working, and then you become so used to performing that behavior as a habit that it gets tough to break, and you're just talking, tapping, and stuttering, and the tapping stops working. So I've done it. I would not recommend it because very likely you will just start tapping, and your words will stop coming out more and more with time. If you practice sentences more often, do they become easier? Yes and no. So if you use strategies as you practice your sentences, then that can help because you'll become more familiar with your strategies. But just by repeating the same sentence over and over does not mean that I'll be able to get it out without stuttering. Um, uh, However, it kind of does work within a very fast time period. So so if I took the next few minutes to just repeat the same sentence over and over, then chances are after that I can probably get it out with reduced stuttering. But then, like with enough time passing by, so later today or tomorrow, I would still stutter on that sentence. Have you noticed if any words trigger a stutter more than others? So it doesn't really work like that. Stuttering is just variable. So sometimes we'll get stuck on a word, and then sometimes we won't. Um, with that being said, nouns can be tougher for stutterers because you can't substitute a noun for a synonym. So, like my own name, I'm stuck on saying that word because I just have the one name. There's no synonym for it. Does your work now as a therapist now heal old wounds where services failed to meet your needs in speech therapy? Interesting question. Yes and no. Um, uh, I I find that I get some relief because I remember what it was like as a client, and and I can use that when I see my own clients. Um, so I can meet them more at their level. Um, but but yeah, I mean those past times of being in speech therapy where I hated it, I still went through it. So by doing more of it now doesn't necessarily cancel out what happened in the past for me. Travis, have you ever traveled to Scotland? Yes, I have. Have you ever seen the news story of the guy who corrected his stutter with some technology that plays his speaking into his ears at a slight delay? Yes, that's called the well, the most famous one is called the speech. Um, so that will not work for a certain percentage of stutterers, just because their brains just don't follow that typical pattern of auditory processing. Um, Now, it would work for most stutterers. However, with time, sometimes 1 year, sometimes two, um, your brain starts to pick up on this delay, and then that device stops working for you. Um, uh, and that device doesn't just change the the way you hear your own voice. It changes how you hear all sounds. So so other people talking, you'll hear at a delay. Traffic, music, it will all be at a delay. So for something that may cause more distractions and typically will stop working within a year or two, and it costs thousands of dollars, like I think 7 grand or so. It's not worth it to me. Now I haven't tried it, but it seems like you'll spend all that money and time and then be right back where you were before you bought it 1 or 2 years later. So not for me. Let's see some more. Is it that you can't speak some letters, or is it random? It is random, so I may get stuck on certain sounds or words this time, and then the next time that I say it, I may not get stuck at all, or I may get stuck twice as long. Uh, it's it's just totally variable. Sorry, just looking for some more questions. Oh, I guess I've reached the bottom of the chat. Um, Unless for some reason some questions aren't showing up. So since I'm at the bottom, I will stop here. I will be back on Tuesday with a guest stutterer, where I will ask them and to review questions to see how stuttering impacted their own life. And thank you to everyone who sent in super chats. Thank you to E Squared, my mod, for handling the chat. And I will see you around this time on Tuesday. Thank you.